Welcome everybody to another episode of Mondays with Mundy, and that's me, Jim Mundy, the historian for the Union League Legacy Foundation. As you can see, we're in the Broad Street building and on the grand staircase in front of this wonderful and fantastic stained glass window. But I'd be willing to bet that almost everybody who walks by, whether you're coming in from the Broad Street door or from the 15th Street side of the clubhouse, and you look up and you see the stained glass, does anybody really understand what it means, what it symbolizes, and why it's even here? So we're going to talk about today and clear the record, if we will. So let's get started. All right, so first off, this is a memorial window in honor of the first four presidents of the Union League. And you can see their names at the very bottom. But above that, you see an image, and a very powerful image. And this is St. Michael the Archangel, as I grew up knowing him. But the Archangel Michael actually goes back in Judaic history, hundreds of years before the Common Era. So the Archangel Michael has been around with six other archangels for a long, long time. But in 19th century Judeo-Christian history, shall we say, at least as I understand it, or as I grew up with it, he was St. Michael the Archangel. And he led the heroic forces of heaven against the evil forces of Satan and the powers of hell, and defeated them repeatedly and continuously. Think of those wonderful 19th century sculptures of St. Michael slaying the dragon under his feet. Well, symbolically, what do you think this window is trying to tell us? And here's what I think it's telling us, is that basically St. Michael the Archangel represents the Union League of Philadelphia as the protector of the Union against the evil powers of the Confederacy and slavery itself. And it was the Union League that helped preserve heaven against those evil forces. And look at the fasces. You can see that St. Michael's left hand is holding the Roman fasces, right? The symbol of the Roman legions back in the Roman Empire. And that is representative of strength through unity, because, you know, a single stick or two or three sticks together will easily break. But when you put 10, 20, and 30 sticks together in a bundle and bind them together, that creates that strength and unity that represented the strength of the Union itself during the Civil War, and how it was able to defeat those evil powers of hell, i.e. the Confederacy itself. So pretty neat imagery there. So wonderful allegorical stained glass window to look at every time you walk in the Broad Street door itself. But after all, it is still a memorial window, not right? So if you look beneath the image of St. Michael, you'll see those wonderful five words: forget not the faithful dead. And I think rarely has English been used to such good use. So now, who are those faithful dead? Well, they are the first four presidents of the Union League of Philadelphia. You can see their names in the very bottom: William Morris Meredith, Horace Binney Jr., Joseph Gillingham Fell, and Morton McMichael. So let's start with William Morris Meredith. He was the first president of the Union League, 1863 and 1864. Now, why Meredith to be the first president? Well, between 1841 and 1845, he was the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, so he was already getting his foot both in the legal door in Philadelphia, but also in the political door at the same time. And then Zachary Taylor made him his Secretary of the Treasury, 1849 through Taylor's death in 1850. And then between 1860 and 1867, he was the Pennsylvania State Attorney General. So what better individual and what better public figure than William Morris Meredith was there to make your first president, because it gives instant legitimacy to the Union League and its mission and its message at the same time. So he was a logical choice for that. He was followed by Joseph Gillingham Fell, who between 1865 and 1868, Fell was born in Bucks County, but his family moved to Luzerne County in northeastern Pennsylvania, where, of course, everything was all about coal and mining. And so, as a young civil engineer, Fell was involved with the Pardee and Company, doing just that. And of course, you're involved in coal and mining, of which he became a coal owner and coal miner. Then you were involved with railroads. So he was first involved with the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad, the world's largest anthracite coal carrier based here in Philadelphia, but later on he was president and on the board of the Lehigh Valley Railroad as well, but he was also known as an ardent Republican and an ardent abolitionist at the same time. The third president was Horace Binney Jr., whose career as a lawyer was really overshadowed by that of his father, who was one of the most prominent lawyers, not only in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, but in the United States. He was known as the Nestor of the American bar itself. But Binney's claim to fame, if you will, was that he served as a board member very early in the war for the United States Sanitary Commission, which was created in June of 1861 as an agency that was raised money to buy medical supplies for the Union Army and Navy, since the government wasn't prepared to do that at the very beginning of the war itself. He was also the president of the Philadelphia chapter of the Sanitary Commission, which in June of 1864 held its great central fair on Logan Square, during which in its 3 weeks' time, they raised over $1 million for these medical supplies for the Army and the Navy. Quite an achievement in 1864. Then our fourth president, Morton McMichael, was known for a number of reasons in Philadelphia. First off, as the sheriff of Philadelphia, 1843 to 1846. So he was sheriff during the 1844 anti-Catholic riots and was given credit for really calming the city down in that very divisive period of history. In 1854, he chaired the executive committee for the Consolidation Act, which brought the city and the county of Philadelphia together into the same political entity, as opposed to being separate ones all the way around. He then, in 1857, purchased the oldest newspaper in the country called the North American, which was the successor to the papers founded by Ben Franklin in the 18th century. And as the editor of the North American, he was a staunchly pro-union, pro-abolitionist, and pro-republican proponent for fighting the war, the Civil War itself. And then, as an early founder of the Union League, as all four of them were, McMichael, in 1866 became the first post-Civil War mayor of Philadelphia from 1866 to 1869. And during his term in office, he was known for a number of things, but two of which I would point out are that during his administration, the Philadelphia's black citizens were finally allowed to ride the streetcars of Philadelphia, that is, which they weren't allowed to do beforehand. They could ride on the vestibules at the ends, but never inside the heated compartments, if you will. And then he also helped create the Fairmount Park Commission, which is still around to this day, and we all know how well Fairmount Park contributes to the social and cultural life of the city of Philadelphia itself. But how did the window get here? Who commissioned it? Who paid for it? Well, that's another member, Edwin North Benson. Benson was born in 1840, but he retired from his father's banking company in 1830 as an incredibly wealthy man, a millionaire at that point in time, which meant a lot in the 1870s. Before that, Benson was a founding member of the Union League. Very early in the war, in April of 1861, he joined Company D of the Gray Reserves, and you can see the Gray Reserves infantry sculpture right on Broad Street on the south side of the staircase, for instance, if you need reference to that. And when his service in the Gray Reserves was over, he joined the 32nd Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry Regiment and was wounded at the Battle of Carlisle, if you will, which was July the 1st of 1863, the same day as the first day of the Battle of Gettysburg. Benson then would come back to Philadelphia and become one of the city's most prominent social and cultural leaders for the rest of his life. But of course, he was also incredibly generous to the Union League, through commissioning the sculpture and this stained glass window and paying for it. And would you believe that stained glass window only cost $1,000? Today, Benson's name lives on through the Benson Annex, just a few, not 100 feet, I wouldn't say, but just a few feet down the hall on the first floor here. So here we have, I hope this explains somewhat, this beautiful piece of stained glass work. And by the way, it was designed and installed by a company called Payne and Pina from Orange, New Jersey. All right, they were not a Philadelphia firm, unfortunately. So the next time you walk in the League House and you're in the Broad Street building, make sure to look up the grand staircase and take a few minutes to look at this beautiful stained glass window, think of its symbolism, and think of the service of these four past presidents to the League and to the city and to the country. And I hope then that the window will mean a whole lot more to you the next time you see it. So thank you for watching another episode of Mondays with Mundy. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll keep doing them. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, spring is coming. Stay safe, stay warm, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.